Can you hear me?
It's breaking a bit.
Oh, breaking, is it? Okay. I'm not sure, maybe the internet is bad. Why don't we have the carol at the end? Go ahead.
Okay, I think now it's a bit better.
Is it okay now?
No,
It's better now.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's okay.
Okay.
Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright, round yon virgin mother and child. Holy infant, so tender and mild, sleep in heavenly peace. Sleep in heavenly peace. Silent night, holy night, shepherds queen at the side, glories stream from heaven afar. Heavenly hosts sing hallelujah. Christ the Savior is born. Christ the Savior is born. Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright, round your virgin mother and child. Holy infant, so tender and mild, sleep in heavenly peace. Sleep in heavenly peace. Sleep in heavenly peace.
Sairam.
Sairam, thank you so much. Such a nice rendition. Next will be doing thought for the day from Prashanthi Noyam for Christmas Day. It was to teach mankind the greatness of divine love that Jesus came. He resolved on 3 tasks. 1, to be filled with divine love and to share it with others. This was the main purpose of his life. 2, he should not have succumbed to praise or censure in carrying out his mission. 3, to inspire in others the conviction that the divinity within is omnipresent. Jesus considered spreading the gospel of love as his foremost task. He encountered many ordeals in carrying out his mission, but he regarded them all as challenges to be overcome. He was determined to treat pleasure and pain and sickness and failure with equanimity. He could not bear to see anyone suffer. Every human is potentially a messenger of God. Humanness demands that everyone should manifest the divinity within him. Everyone should be a real messenger of God, strive to promote peace and security in the world. There is no other path to be followed. God's message is sacred and totally free from self-interest. Baba. Sai Ram, our Kansas Sai Center is to have with us Dr. Harvey, who will be giving us all a Christmas message, and Brother Vidyanand, who will be sharing his experiences on this holy day. To give a brief intro, clinical/social psychologist who now resides in the Kansas City area. Most of his professional career was spent in St. Louis, Missouri, where he directed a large substance abuse prevention and Treatment Center, NASCO, and held the faculty position of adjunct professor of sociology at the Washington University in St. Louis. He was a consultant in matters of mental health and substance abuse. During this period, he also served as associate publisher and executive editor of the Mississippi Enterprise newspaper, Jackson, and as a senior research scientist at the Missouri Institute of Mental Health in St. Louis. In the year 2000, Dr. Harvey shifted his residency to Sharon, Connecticut, and became a director of the Tanzania Royalty Exploration Company. He is listed in the Who's Who in America. His participation in the International Set-Aside Organization dates back to 1977. He has served in many capacities, including president of USA's Region 4, president of the US Central Council, chairperson for the National Young Adult Executive Committee, and central coordinator for Zone 1. He is currently serving as a trustee of the Prashanti Council. Now I'd like to virtually hand over the mic to Dr. Harvey. Sai Ram.
Well, thank you very much. I offer my reverential salutations at the divine lotus feet. Sisters, brothers, and respected younger ones, we're grateful for this opportunity to participate in this celebration, this observance of the birth of Lord Jesus. I bring greetings from the chairman of the Prashanti Council and the other members. We're always delighted when one of us is able to make a visit to a center. The year 2020 is forcing us to endure restrictions of movement and assembly we never imagined. And some of these conditions threaten to permanently impair the physical and psychological makeup of us. And especially this is the case for younger children at a critical stage in their development. And yet, the situation really, on top of that, we've got a situation where our spirits are up, they're bright, and enthusiasm and optimism abound. We're fortunate, and we're fortunate in many ways. So why do we sometimes forget that fact? We forget it, and then we plunge ourselves needlessly into doubt, into fear, and confusion. The reason is simple. It's due to the nature of the mind and the fact that we have not devoted enough time and effort. We've really just not devoted enough practice to controlling our mind. That's something we do have to practice. Of course, God has given us this amazing servant that we call the mind. And utilized properly, we're able to reap many wonderful benefits. Conversely, improper utilization, that is, forgetting that it is our servant, that can bring about disastrous consequences. We can think of the mind as our own personal supercomputer that can rapidly figure out things for us and lead us and help us to make good decisions. But there are limits to what it can do. And there are times when we have to shut it off and we have to fall back on our judgment, fall back upon our common sense, fall back upon our faith in God. When we do that, then we are controlling our mind, and it is not controlling us. If all of us, or even most of us on the planet, were to do that, then living in this world would be a far more pleasant experience. But humankind has not yet reached that state yet. And sad to say, it's going the opposite direction. When humanity proceeds too far in the opposite direction, in the wrong direction, God intervenes by taking a human birth. A bit over 2,000 years ago, this occurred when Jesus was born in Bethlehem. As we saw on the Thought for Today, Sri Sathya Sai Baba often pointed out that Jesus brought the message of love, that Jesus was also an embodiment of love. Many years back, Swami instituted the practice at the ashram of observing the birth of Jesus on Christmas Day. And that observance has grown steadily throughout the years. It's grown in scope, it's grown in significance, it's grown in beauty. I myself witnessed the event during my first trip to Prashanti Nilayam in 1978. It was toward the end of 1976 that I first heard the name Sai Baba. And shortly after that, due to a series of spectacular happenings and I think divine providence, I recognized that Sathya Sai Baba was the Supreme Lord come upon us in a way similar to what I had associated with New Testament accounts of Jesus. Instantly, the desire arose in me to somehow go to India and to be in Sai Baba's physical presence. Many months would pass, and the best time turned out to be Christmas week, the 8th. However, once I got my ticket, there arose a series of last-minute obstacles and many scary moments that I had to overcome. Fortunately, we did. My arrival at the ashram was around 8 p.m. Christmas Eve. The accommodation office allotted us a room and said that we should be at the temple, the Mandir, as it's called, the next morning at 4 a.m. So we went, and I received a lighted candle set in a small tin container to keep the wax from melting, hot wax from melting on my hands. And there was a procession going around the temple of about, I would say, 200 devotees from countries outside of India. And they were singing traditional Christmas carols. The ladies were in a group in front of us, the men. And so we made 3 circumambulations around there. And as I came around for the 3rd time, I noticed that the procession had stopped and everyone was looking up toward the balcony. I glanced up and there was Sai Baba standing near the edge of the balcony, just gently floating, it seemed, from side to side. It appeared for a moment that he was looking directly at me. In any event, I felt a wave of energy flowing from him towards me, so powerful that I felt myself slowly sliding down to my knees onto the sand. And then suddenly I was aware that the carol, the Christmas carol being sung, was "Joy to the world, the Lord has come." That was a very strong moment for me. The feeling, the experience, it was otherworldly being there, kneeling, looking up, and this all going on, and people singing. Everything was lighted up. It was getting more light, more illumined. It was blissful, and I can never forget it. Later, a few hours later at lunchtime, the Western devotees were served a special meal in the canteen. Then around 3 p.m., we were permitted to file into the temple where Sai Baba was to give a discourse. The first speaker was Howard Murphy of Australia. It was Murphy's book, Man of Miracles, that introduced me to the claim that God was again present on the planet. After reading that book, I felt a tremendous urge to go and see for myself. Dr. John Hislop also spoke some words about Jesus and the tradition of Christmas. Now, only Western devotees had been permitted to come inside the temple and to be seated on the marble floor. In some ways, the interior was like a large cathedral, a stunning, awe-inspiring scene. However, all eyes appeared glued to Sai Baba, seated in an ornate chair on the raised surface to the right. The translator was Dr. Bhagavantam, a renowned physicist. Sai Baba began by making the point that the major religions have a great deal in common. He said that their followers all call upon the one God who is omnipresent, who is responsible for conferring on humankind peace and happiness, health and prosperity. Further, that God does not favor one religion over another. As he put it, it is our destiny to travel from our human status to divinity. And he cautioned that the journey will be filled with obstacles, with trials, and at times severe testing. Out of mercy and compassion, the Creator from time to time provides humanity with the needed assistance that can enable it to surmount these obstacles, these challenges. We need to do that when our individual efforts fail us. So the point is that God is always making available to us assistance. He's making assistance to guide us along our journey, to guide us safely and with the least possible discomfort. Now, that assistance takes many forms. The most dramatic and rare being the coming amongst us in the form of a human. The birth of Jesus, he said, was such an instance. He went on to explain that Jesus had the mission to restore love, charity, and compassion in the hearts of humans. I can tell you it was thrilling to hear such a clear and lucid explanation. He also pressed the point that we are not to confine Jesus to one community. Rather, the birthday of Jesus should be celebrated in every culture. Sai Baba applauded the singing of carols. He applauded reading from the Bible, staging dramatic plays for and with children about incidents surrounding the birth of Jesus. He said that's a very good thing, but that's not enough. We should also, during this time of the year, think more deeply about what Jesus taught, because that will permit us to derive more and more of the inner meaning of Jesus's words. Sai Baba cited an example of what he meant by that, by referring to the fact that, some of us will remember this, Jesus said that the bread taken at the Last Supper was his flesh and the wine was his blood. Swami said Jesus was pointing out that all humans alive with flesh and blood are to be treated as though they are Jesus himself. In other words, every person is his body, sustained by bread. Every person is animated by the wine, meaning the blood flowing in their veins. Therefore, when Jesus' words are more deeply understood, we realize that every person truly is divine at his or her core and should be treated and responded to as such. This would lead us to not hating anyone, even when a person's actions and behavior cause great harm to seemingly innocent others. Of course, we reject and condemn the behavior, the bad behavior we condemn, but we avoid allowing ourselves to slip into the trap of hating anyone. Swami went on to say that Even while nailed on the cross, Jesus heard the words of the Father saying, "All life is one. My dear son, be a light to everyone." Jesus then pleaded that those who were crucifying him may be forgiven, for they know not what they do. Hence, Sai Baba declared, Jesus sacrificed himself for the sake of mankind. In succeeding years, I visited Prasanthi Nilayam many, many times. And whenever those visits occurred at Christmas time, it was an extra special joy to see fellow Christians from virtually every country assemble by the thousands in that tiny remote village in southern India, and in the process come to better understand and appreciate the message of love that Lord Jesus brought and the example he set. Well, it was life-changing. At the time of my first visit, I possessed only cursory familiarity with the contents of the Bible. And I was quite limited in my appreciation of such concepts as salvation and being saved. Sathya Sai Baba's teachings and guidance gradually inspired me to rectify that failing. In fact, he specifically recommends that we not only not leave the religion into which we are born, but rather begin a serious study of what the master himself has taught, and not content ourselves with interpretations of others. We must honor and revere the faith we are brought up in, as well as show gratitude to the country of our birth. I learned that we should avoid making the mistake of thinking that God favors us only or any particular group of people. On the contrary, anyone who strives to purify her or his heart and yearns for God will be richly rewarded, regardless of their race, class, nationality, or status of birth. Thank you again for inviting me to share in this program on this auspicious day. Jai Sai Ram.
Sai Ram, Dr. Harvey. On behalf of the Sri Satya Sai Baba Center of Kansas, we would like to thank you from the bottom of our hearts for sharing such an insightful message on Christmas. Next, we'll be having Brother Vidyanand Deshi Bhatla sharing his experiences. Brother Vidyanand did his schooling in Swami's institutions at Vrindavan and Prasanthi Nilayam. He was selected by Swami for the Best All-Rounder Gold Medal. During his school days, he used to play the harmonium and sing bhajans in the Prashanti Mandir bhajan group. He was actively involved in public speaking and also spoke in the Dashera celebrations a couple of times in Swami's physical presence. Most recently, as part of the Sai alumni, he was involved in a webinar Seva program that allowed experienced professionals to share their insights with faculty and students. He takes part in the Boston Sai Center activities along with his family. Now, I would like to virtually hand over the mic to Brother Vidyanand. Sairam.
Om Shri Sairam. I offer my most prayerful salutations at the lotus feet of our beloved Swami, respected elders and dearest members of our beloved Sai family. At the very outset, I would like to thank you for giving me this blessed opportunity to talk on this wonderful, holy, auspicious day. Today is December 25th. It's Christmas. It's also the day when Sri Krishna provided the Bhagavad Gita to mankind. So it's a very auspicious day. There are two celebrations going on the same day. For me, Christmas takes me back, way back. It brings back so many memories of all the beautiful times that I celebrated at his Divine Lotus feet. It's magical. It's something that brings so many memories of all the beautiful things that I witnessed and participated and was fortunate to be a part of. There was the carols in the morning, as Dr. Harvey mentioned, the beautiful darshan in the morning, and then we had carols by students, and then later on we had speeches by eminent people, and of course, Swami's divine discourse on that day, giving us this blessed message. And then the evening, we had some sort of a program, either it would be a play or some sort of a performance. In fact, every religious festival in Prashantanilayam was celebrated in a special, unique way. There's something magical about it. And if I were to go back and think, why did we actually celebrate all this in every religion? Take it, whether it is Christianity or whether it's Hindu religion or Buddhism or Jainism or Islam. We celebrated each and every religion with the same enthusiasm, and we look forward to each of such celebrations. And it was because as we were growing up under his umbrella, he began to instill in us values about the equality, about the universality of all religions. He was trying to instill in us values that every religion preaches or teaches goodness and goodness of the heart. And it's a responsibility to actually try to see if we can drink that nectar of purity that is a part of every religion. And that is what I think, this is my interpretation of how I looked at things. Now if I look back at how we celebrated each and every religion, there was a unique message that was imparted. In fact, Swami mentions this in one of his discourses. He says, I'll mention this message in Telugu in the way Swami actually mentioned, and then I'll give you the translation. He says, Matamulu anni kudi manchine bodhinchi. Means all the religions together to preach the good. Telisi మెలుగవలయు తెలివి తోడ means know this and conduct yourself with wisdom, the తెలివి, wisdom. మతులు మంచివైన, if your mind is pure, మతమేమి చెడ్డది, why would any religion be bad? వినుడు భారతీయ వీరసుతుడా. Listen, heed these words, O sons of Bharat. So there goes Swami's beautiful, beautiful message to us that every religion, we have to look forward to the goodness in each and every religion. We have to have our minds pure. So take it any religion, Ramzan, Christmas, Dasara, Deepavali, every religion is celebrated in its own magical way, in such a beautiful way. And what more did we need? And he was right there giving his divine darshan all along. So let me take you back through the memory lane. Let's look at how Christmas was celebrated in the 80s. I was a student at the time, and at the time I was studying in Vrindavan. And invariably, it was, I think, the 2 days before Christmas or our Christmas Eve, we would come to Prashanthanilayam to partake in those celebrations, the Christmas celebrations. And Swami lovingly would accommodate us in the old boys hostel. The old boys hostel is actually, from the old boys hostel, you can see the mandir. You can, even when Swami comes out for darshan, you can actually take a glimpse of Swami's darshan. So it's so proximity wise, it's very, very close to the mandir. So we used to settle there. And at night, when we wanted to go to bed, for us, we had a choice. And the choice was, you could sleep in the old hostel, or you could take your blanket and a pillow and go to the mandir. And remember, in those days, there was sand. Swami used to give darshan walking on that sand. In fact, I would say that the sand was so lucky. I wish I was part of that sand. So you had a choice of putting your blanket there and either sleeping on the sand, or you could sleep in the portico. Portico is the mandir. If you look at the mandir, that part in the front, which has got a shutter, is called the portico. And you could see the Swami's interview room door there, and we would either sleep there. So it was beautiful. And think about it. We are sleeping on the sand, and I used to feel that. I used to sleep on the sand, look up, look at all the sky, look at all the stars, and then feel that, oh, the Christmas spirit is coming into me. And then here I am sleeping in the lap of the Divine Mother. And that's the feeling I would get. And then I would go to sleep, forgetting all my worries and only concentrating on Swami. So morning around 4 o'clock, if I recall correctly, the selfless sevadal, these are people who were selflessly working there throughout the night. They come and they start lovingly tap your shoulder. Sairam, Sairam, trying to wake you up. And then you get up. And what do you see? These people have worked throughout the night in creating all these beautiful decorations, the Christmas decorations that you see. They worked so hard, tirelessly, selflessly. And then you get up, you rub your eyes, and you look on your left, you see all the rangoli, which is the decorations on the sand being put, so that when Swami comes there, It looks so beautiful and magnificent. And then as you get up, you see that people are already congregating to partake in the Suprabhatam. There are already lines that are forming, and it's so magical. The day has already begun. So you just quickly fold the blanket, take the pillow, and rush to the old hostel and get ready. And we would be near the Nagar Sankirtan before the Nagar Sankirtan starts. As Dr. Harvey mentioned, there were always two lines, one line for the ladies and the other line for the gents. And usually you would see about close to anywhere between 300 to 500 people at the time who would partake in the Nagar Sankirtan. And this Nagar Sankirtan was so special because of the fact that it was Christmas. So we would start, so Nagar Sankirtan would start immediately after the Suprabhatam was complete. And you could see the Vedam boys getting ready to do their Vedam. And we would stand in that line, and the ladies would begin the Nagar Sankirtan. Some of them, as Dr. Harvey mentioned, had candles. And the Nagar Sankirtan start at where the Ganesha deity is. And then it would begin, and then we would follow along, and then we would start our Nagar Sankirtan. After the first speed of the first bhajan, then we would begin. I'm pretty sure there were a lot of carols in that Nagar Sankirtan. My memory is so hazy because it's been so many years, and so things did change a lot in terms of there are more and more participation and more things, more beautiful programs that were incorporated as the years went through, as the scope changed and grew better and bigger, as Dr. Harvey mentioned. So we would begin, and then we would go around East Prashanti, West Prashanti, all the way to the Indian canteen. And then we would keep walking, and then we would come towards the mandir. As you get close to the mandir, what do you see? Right on the balcony, or the first floor, as it is called in India, or the second floor, as it is called here, the doors have opened, and Swami has come out in his white, with wearing a white robe, donning a white robe. That's Jesus Christ. That's him. And you can see that people are so enthusiastic. They're singing carols. It's so beautiful, so magical. You can see a lot of lamps being lit. In fact, if time permits, I'll try to see if I can play a video that someone sent me today showing all this. And it was like the sight for gods. We are so lucky, so fortunate to be there at that moment. He was blessing us, giving us his blessings. It was super magical. I wouldn't, this was the best ever thing that happened on Christmas morning. And then after darshan, we would head back. In those days, we never really cared for food. For us, food was seeing Swami. So, but then we just still had to nourish the body, rush. We used to rush for breakfast, get back, and we were in the mandir by almost 7 a.m. Because in those days, the darshan Swami would come out in between 7 and 7:30. So you got to be there. And think about it. There are thousands and thousands of people, who have congregated for Christmas there. And it's so silent. It's really silent. They call that a pin drop silence. You drop, well, in this case, you drop a pen, people can hear the pen being dropped on the floor. It is so silent. And then you begin to hear a little bit of hustle. People are trying to, sit erect. And what does it tell you? That the interview room has opened and Swami is coming out. And then he's looking at all of us, he's smiling, giving his blessings. It's a beautiful Christmas day, Christmas morning. And then the carols begin, one carol after the other, and Swami is enjoying them. And then he goes out and gives darshan, walking on the sands. And then it doesn't end there yet. Sometimes on Christmas Day, he used to give us prasadam. It could be some sort of a thing that you would eat, because I think looking back, I felt that he knew that we weren't really nourishing ourselves. So this was a way of him trying to get us to eat something and be safe and fresh. So after that morning session, actually sometimes there would be bhajans, and then there would be announcements saying that the afternoon program would start in the Purnachandra auditorium. And that was a morning, and we would rush back quickly, quickly have something to eat, and then by 2 o'clock, we are right there in the Purnachandra auditorium, sitting there, waiting for all the divine nectar to flow in the form of knowledge from all these eminent people who would speak. Usually there were 2 or 3 speakers. We look forward to actually listening to them and trying to grasp every bit of whatever they said. There's so much of experience that they would bring. There all this knowledge and the wisdom that they would, pass on to us. We would listen in rapt attention. And then that would be followed by, of course, the beautiful, beautiful, beautiful Christmas message from Swami, followed by bhajan. And every second of that discourse was so filled with love, grace. And then after that, usually there would be a play. I remember there was a play called Jesus of Nazareth that was done by the students, or it could be a performance by someone who would perform in the evening. And as the performance would end, Swami, as soon as he would bless the participants of those performances or plays, we would quickly rush to the mandir. We would run like, it was like, that was our last run to run. We'd run quickly, rush to the mandir, and then panting, wait there, eagerly for Swami to come. We know Swami is coming from Purnachandra auditorium, and he has to come there, right? And so as our expectations, he would meet our expectations by slowly, gracefully, beautifully walking one step after the other, coming towards us. And sometimes, he would joke with one of us, and he would bless us again. That was another blessing. And then we wouldn't go. We would just keep sitting there. We'd keep sitting there. Why? Every time the interview room door opened, you could hear Swami talking. And that was something that we felt that Swami was there. Our Divine Mother was there. So why would we leave and go away? We wanted to actually drink in every bit of him into us. And that was what we were. We did not have any other thoughts in our head. Our only thing was centered around Swami, nothing else. And then Swami would go upstairs, and that was our indication that we had to leave. And we wouldn't go away. We'd quickly go back, get our blankets and pillows, come back and sleep there. And that was how we spent the entire Christmas day. So it was something magical. It was beautiful. It's such an experience that, at the time, I thought that was going to be the permanent thing in my life. But, things too, Swami wants us, makes us into good citizens, and definitely gives us more responsibilities. And that happened to me as well. And going back to the carols, please let me know if I'm crossing over the time limit. So thinking of carols, carols was something special in my life. I got introduced to carols way back when I was at the age of 4 or 5 years old. And in our colony, we had people who were part of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. They would go around some houses singing carols. That was on Christmas Eve. And they would also come to our house and sing a few carols. It was so beautiful. And that's where I learned some of these carols like, O Come All Ye Faithful, Hark the Herald. And these were some of the carols that I learned. Eventually, when I went to study in Swami's school, I learned a lot more carols. So carols became a part of my, something that I had picked up, and it always reminds me of a childhood. So when I moved from Vrindavan to Krishantalam, the first year, we all got permission to render carols or sing carols in the morning. And we learned some new carols. I thought we did a pretty good job because, now here's the thing, when Swami is happy with the performance, it means that we have done something good for everyone, in the sense that everyone's happiness, his devotees' happiness is Swami's happiness. And that's something that he wants to see. If devotees are really happy, see, the thing is, he cares about all his devotees. He cares about the welfare of his devotees, and he wants to give them a blissful experience. And if you are successful in doing so, then you have earned, I feel that you have earned his grace. And so we felt that he was happy because that was an indication that the program went well. He gave us Pad Namaskar. And the next year, about 4 weeks immediately after the birthday program, we began to plan for the Christmas carols. And we started to write down all the carols, one after the other: Silent Night, Hark the Herald, Go Tell It on the Mountain, Mary's Boy Child. So many carols that we started putting down together. And we jotted all these carols in a piece of paper with a letter to Swami, requesting pleading with him to give us permission to perform on the Christmas morning. So every morning we would sit in the portico in the every afternoon and in the evening, for the evening darshan. Swami would come out. Sometimes he would look at us, sometimes he wouldn't, and we would just pass by. See, the thing was, we were so overconfident that it led to, I think, at least for me, I felt it gave way to being a little egoistic, that, oh yeah, but we can perform, Swami will definitely give permission. No, but that's not the way, because, I felt that Swami was trying to teach us that it's not good to have that sort of an attitude. And that's, again, this is my own interpretation. So every day, it was a few of us. It was Brother Shailesh, or Brother Sonam, or Brother Bharat, or me, or one of us. We would keep rotating amongst ourselves. Every day, one of us would hold that letter with the list of carols. And then finally, one day, it was my turn. And Swami came out. He came directly to me. And he inquired what it was about. So we all got up and we said, Swami, please pardon us for any wrong that we may have done, but please allow us to perform the carols in the morning. Of course, Swami was very happy with us. And then he said, what carols are you going to sing? So we had this list already. We had done our homework, like I mentioned. And so I don't really recall the exact order of the carols in which I actually told Swami. It's kind of very hazy. It's been so many years. But I started saying, Swami, hark the herald, just only the first line. And Swami said, yes, that's a good carol. And then, oh, come all ye faithful. And then Swami said, yes, that's good. Swami, go tell it on the mountain. He knew each and every carol so well. He knew what it was. You know, of course, he's a creator and he's God. And then I said, Swami, Silent Night. Then Swami said, it's a little slow now. So, you know, after he went through the list, in my mind, I felt that he wanted something that was in line with all the other carols. He wanted it to be fast-paced so that, you know, it could bring enthusiasm and bring the Christmas spirit. Because you don't want a fast carol and then lead to a slow one. I mean, of course, obviously, we were not professional. Remember, one thing is that all of us, pretty much 90% of all the students who actually played instruments there at that time were pretty much self-taught in the sense that taught by him. There were maybe a couple of us who actually knew how to read music. All the rest, we actually played by ear. And to this day, I can't read music. So then what happened was Swami told us to wait there. Then he went inside the interview room. And then a couple of minutes later, he came back with a bunch of CDs and he gave the CDs to us. And he said, go through these and pick some more carols. And so after that, we all got Namaskar. We were so elated, so happy. You know, this is something that we look forward to. You know, it's like, it is a dream come true that we are getting to again sing to him on Christmas Day. And so every day after evening bhajan, some of us would congregate in the music room and begin to start looking at each carol, because we wanted to kind of engage more students to actually sing these. So we needed to get these things right. One of my best friends, Dr. Shailesh Srivastava, who's still there, he knew how to read music. And so he picked up this carol, Mary's Boy Child, that was recorded by Bonnie M group with all the interludes. For the other carols, we still needed interludes, and Brother Sonam composed beautiful, beautiful interludes. And because we learned by ear, at least me, I probably played 10% of what he actually taught us. So, but still it sounded really, really good, because when you surrender something to him, he makes it good for you. So, then we started getting students in. So many students are enthusiastic about singing carols. We got about close to about 100 people, 100 students who actually wanted to actually sing those carols. So every day in the evening, we started our practices with all the students. Oh, it is so beautiful, so beautiful. You would actually practice in the college because we didn't want to disturb anyone. And every day or every other day sometimes, Swami would inquire about the status of how the practices were going. And, you know, we were so fortunate, so happy that he was keeping, touch with what is going on. Of course, he's the creator, he's the director of that program, but still, you know, just to satisfy us for our ignorance, he would still ask us about the status. Then one day, Swami said, I'm going to come, be ready. I want to see the practice. What else do you need? Christmas has come early for us. So that. I think it happened to be a Sunday morning after after bhajan or either after darshan. We all left the mandir, rushed to the college, and we were ready to receive Swami. All of us, all the 100 students. And then I was standing to the side with my accordion, and Brother Bharatat was on the other side. He was also playing the accordion. I believe Shailesh and Sai were playing the keyboards, and Brother Sonam was playing the drums, if I'm not mistaken. He can play any instrument. And Robin Diali was playing the guitar. And of course, I think I may have missed some others who were part of that accompaniment group. And then there were the 100 plus student singers. We are already waiting. And you can see the red robe Swami coming into the college auditorium. And then he sat right in the center of the auditorium. Think about it, right? This whole auditorium, huge auditorium. And Swami sitting right in the center. He's the only audience. And there are at least 100 plus people on the stage performing for him. So he gives us the signal to start, and we're singing carol after the carol after carol. It's like we're singing so much enthusiasm, and it feels like Christmas has already come there. We are singing to Jesus Christ. And after the program, Swami calls us and then gives us some feedback. And this is the most important thing, I think, that I should mention. Swami said, people have come from afar. People have come from lots of places. And it is important to make their experience as blissful as possible. Think about it. Here again, he is looking out for the welfare of all the devotees that have congregated there. And with that, he blessed us, gave Padnamskar, and we were so thrilled. And our practices continued day by day. It was Christmas Eve, and Swami said, "Are you all ready?" And said, "Swami, yes, we are all ready." Next day, Christmas morning, we were in the mandir by 6 or 6:30 a.m. We set up all the instruments. We had permission to go in and set up things so that while not disturbing the ashram's routine. And once we set that up, we had everything in place. And right around 7:15, there was Swami slowly came out of the interview room. Red robe. Beautiful. It's a beautiful Christmas morning. We are all ready. We are completely, there's nothing else in our mind except singing these carols for him and for all the devotees congregated there. And Swami says, start. So we start. All the mics are working perfectly. Everything is working perfectly. And it was so beautiful, the experience. I was standing up because I had to play the accordion, and I was able to actually witness more of the scene than sitting down because I had an unrestricted view. I could see Swami going out into the sands. He was so happy. And after each carol was so energetic. We were singing with a lot at the top of our voices. It was something that, it was like, this was our last breath. We wanted to give it our complete all. And after the carols, Swami told us to start bhajans, and we continued with bhajans. And After that, Swami gave us all Padnamaskar. He was so happy. And as we were walking back to the hostel that morning, you could see that many of us, all of us, most of us were actually singing the carols again. And then we went back to the hostel. Luckily, Brother Sanjay had recorded all the videos and the audio. And so we could play it in the hostel, listen to it so many times. And each time we listened to it in our mind, we were again witnessing Swami enjoying the carols. And what more do you need? It was a performance in a lifetime for us. So, Christmas brings back all these memories. We were fortunate and we were blessed to celebrate such beautiful Christmases in His presence. Just like Christmas, every other religion is celebrated in its own magical way. Swami says, you can follow any religion you want. You can worship any deity you want. It's important to remember that every religion preaches and teaches good. Keep that in the back of your mind. So the perceptions can be different of how people interpret religion or the deities, but the background is that everything preaches the goodness towards humanity, brotherhood of man, fatherhood of God. And there's a beautiful, beautiful excerpt from a discourse where he mentions this so beautifully. I will mention that in Telugu and I will translate into English. He says, Vishnuve Goppa Ani Vaishnavul Anuchunda, means the people who worship Vishnu consider Vishnu as great. Then he says, Shambundu Goppa Ani Shaivulanaga, means the Shaivites, the people who worship Shiva, consider Shiva as their main deity. Ganapati Goppa Ani Ganapatilu Balka, means the people who worship Lord Ganesha consider Lord Ganesha as the deity that they follow. Then he goes on to say, Saradi Goppa Ani Chaduvarulana, means the educated people, most of the people who are educated, they consider Mother Saraswati as the main deity. Then he goes on to say, Allah Ganudanchu, means Ganudu means the Almighty. Allah Ganudanchu Allah Turakalu Chappa, means all the Muslims consider Allah as the Almighty. Maku Christu, means for us, Christ. Maku Christu Anchu Christulu Anaga, means the Christians consider Christ is for us. Then he says, Nenu, means me. That is actually he's referring to him. Nenu Goppa Etanchu Nadu Bhaktulu Chappa, means people who follow me consider me as the main deity. And then he goes on to say, Andaru, means everyone. Okate Ani, means everyone. Andaru Okate Ani Kondaranaga, means some people consider that all these are one. And this is the final message that he provides, the last line, where he says, Sarvajana Sammattamaina Satyam Okate Daivambo Ganacharya. Means, please note that all religions agree that the truth and the Brahman are one. What is it? What is the message? It implies all religions are facets of the same truth, and that truth is God. So Swami's message is, all religions preach and teach good. All religions are facets of the same truth, and that truth is God. So every religion, and therefore I feel that every religion is celebrated in its own unique way, and he gives so much importance because he wants us to realize all this from that. Since today happens to be Gita Jayanti also, and it brings back to me, in my mind, I'm thinking about Sri Krishna too, and how we celebrated Krishna Jayanti. So I wanted to kind of draw a parallel between Sri Krishna Jayanti and Sri Krishna Janmashtami and Christmas, how they are celebrated in their own beautiful ways. I'll just try to give a quick summary of how it's celebrated. It's magical in its own beautiful way, something that I participated in during my student days. So just a few days before, even we used to also call it Gokulashtami. Before Gokulashtami came up, there was to be a sign-up sheet where you sign up and say, do you want to take the cows from the Gokulam to the Mandir? Remember, Sri Krishna is all about, the Gokulashtami is all about the cows. Cows are taken to the Mandir, and Swami actually, blesses those wonderful animals and feeds them, and that's a blessing in itself. So, someone has to take these cows, and of course, it's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing that we look forward to. It's a blessing to actually take these animals. And there was a sign-up sheet, and I used to sign up. And this one particular year, let me tell you what my experience was. So as soon as we got up that morning, we got ready, or went to the Gokulam, and then I was paired up with one more student, and we were given a calf that is, a slightly older calf. And since it is a calf, they were given a couple of bananas just in case the calf gets a little anxious, we can feed it. And the procession from the Gokulam all the way to the Mandir was, of course, it's another chapter. I can go on talking about it, but let me tell you, it's a small gist of it. We used to have students sing bhajans, followed by a student, bunch of students walking behind, and behind them we had all the cows decorated, and we are bringing them to the Mandir. And it's such a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful scene to witness. And so we used to so we brought this calf all the way to the Mandir. Of course, it was such a patiently, it wasn't anxious at all. So we brought it into the mandir, on the sands. We were all waiting there for Swami to come. And our little calf began to get a little anxious. And so I was trying to feed it that banana that was given. It wouldn't accept it. I knew that, it's something that a calf, because the person who actually gave us those bananas said that particular calf loves to have bananas. But here, he did not want to, he or she did not want to have that banana. And then I was wondering, why was this? Swami had come out and he had begun blessing each and every calf. I think it got a note of that. And it saw that Swami is feeding the other cows. So I feel that even in its own limitation, it knew that Swami was the creator and it wanted to be fed by the creator himself and not by any mortals like us. And so then it struck us, because my other student brother said, Swami's here. I think it wants to be fed by Swami. So we put the banana back in the bag. And then we waited, and this calf was anxiously waiting. And that anxiety was because it was waiting, so eager to get that food from Swami. And Swami came to it, blessed it, and fed the banana. And oh my God, it ate the banana. And it felt like, yeah, this is what it confirmed our whatever we had assumed, that it was indeed looking to be fed by the creator. And he blessed, and we were so thrilled. And after that, we took the calf, and the procession went back to the Gokulam. That evening, there were talks by several eminent people, and after which Swami's divine discourse was given to us, the message about Sri Krishna, about how we need to be like the flute in his hand, no vices, no desires, just hollow, so that we can become his instruments, able instruments, that he can infuse us with his music. That evening there were programs, and that was how it ended. But now look at it, if you can draw a parallel bit on how Christmas was celebrated and how Sri Krishna's Janmashtami was celebrated, each was celebrated its own unique way. But look at the message that was given to us, right? I mean, so when Swami says that every religion you have to look for the good in every religion and look for the message and drink in the purity, the nectar of purity, you can see that. What does Christianity say? Right? It says, Swami says that when you see the cross, what does it imply? Cut your ego, the I. That ego is a deterrent to not only your spiritual progress, but progress in every aspect of your life. And what does it do? See, you become skilled, and you acquire skill after skill. And there comes a moment where this veil of illusion is thrown over your eyes. And in fact, there are so many bhajans that actually talk about this veil of illusion and how we need to surrender to him to get over it. In fact, there's a beautiful bhajan that goes, Mohamaya ke bandhan thodo, he Prabhu apni sharan mein le lo, हे प्रभु अपनी शरण में ले लो इसे, पापी को अपना ले प्रभु इसे, पग पग तू ही संभाले. So basically, how do we get rid of this veil of illusion? By surrendering to him. And what does surrender actually mean? It means, this is again my interpretation, and I feel that set no desires, set no expectations, surrender it to him completely, and let him infuse you with his music, like how he gives us that Sri Krishna Janmashtami message. So there is a complete, all these things kind of congregate. It's the same kind of message, but it's so valuable. It's full of bliss. And it provides us with a pathway to not only our spiritual progress, but progress pretty much in every aspect of our life. And let me give you an illustration of how I kind of, how I learned this so that I could remember this for my life. So it was 1987, and it was just right after Christmas. They'd announced that there would be a vocal competition and followed by an instrumental competition. Of course, I took part in both of them. For vocal competition, I actually supported the vocalists, and that's a beautiful and that story. So hopefully one of these days I can share that with you. Let me talk about the instrumental conference, and since I was one of the participants there. So first they said that the instrumental conference would be held in the hostel. And, I said, there was this, I was thinking that it should be a 9-minute piece that you're supposed to play. You can break it up into 2 parts. And I was thinking what I should play. And there is this, Brother Shailish, one of my best friends. He had taught me Dr. Zhivago Lara's theme. It goes like this. Dun, 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 dun. Na, 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 na. So it's basically like a marching band, but you can play it in an accordion in a beautiful way. And so I had picked up that, and that was going to be my first piece. And then I was thinking about what should I play for the second piece, which is about like 4 minutes long. And all these things were going on in my head. And so the thing is, I knew that I could pretty much play anything that I wanted, so when you begin to feel that, I became a kind of a self-admirer. I knew that since I could play anything, I wanted to play something that is complicated, kind of, show off a bit that I could do a real good job on what I was playing. So when that comes in, there's always confusion, right? And that happened to me. So when they said hostel, yeah, I can play a couple of these devotional bits that are a little complicated from one of these movie songs that I could play because it's hostel, people would understand. And all the time I was thinking about myself and how people would say, oh yeah, you did a great job. Then the venue shifted to college. I started panicking a bit. Oh, really? How can I really play there? I can't really play these bits because now I have a bigger audience. I got to think of something else. And so I started to think of other complicated pieces that I wanted to play. Nothing fell in place. Then on 2:30 that afternoon, our performance was going to start at 5 o'clock. Around 2:30 that afternoon, we get word that the venue has shifted to Purnachandra Auditorium. It was January 1st, 1988. And I was in the list of the people who would be performing. And what more, we were told that Swami would be sitting on one side of the Purnachandra Auditorium stage, on the stage, and we would be able to get 2 people to accompany us. And now I started panicking a bit. I was confused. and nothing seemed to be working. And less than 2 hours, I would be performing on stage. And what was I going to, how was I going to render the second bit when I haven't even practiced? I don't even know what that is. And that was when that moment of surrender came. I just went and bowed down to a photo of Swami. I said, Swami, please forgive me for my foolishness in thinking that I'm really good. I'm not. I'm not even a small grain of sand in the huge ocean. And I'm already thinking that I'm so big. I'm not, Swami. Thank you for teaching me this lesson and how it's time for me to completely seek your grace and your help. Please help me. Even to this day, whenever I sit in a bhajan, or whenever I sit in if I'm going to sing a bhajan, or if I'm going to play harmonium for bhajans, my first prayer is for Swami to help me through that session. Each and every session is an opportunity that you get to perform service to him. And you should view it so. Each session is sacred. You are performing a service. You are not showing your prowess or your talent. And that is something that got embedded in me at that hour. And then we were there in the Purnachand auditorium by 4:30. Swami came. We were in the backstage. Swami blessed all of us. And then he said, are you all ready? I said, yes, Swami. And then till then, I was still not ready with my 4-minute piece, but I knew that he would guide. He would give me that divine guidance. I had that strong, because now I have surrendered. Now I don't have to hold anything back. That whole stress in my mind is lifted. And I knew I would play something that he would play something through me. And then my turn came. On the keyboard accompanying me was Sai Manikam. And on the drums, there's a very good bhajan singer by name D. Sairam, who was playing the drums for me. I started off by playing Dr. Zhivago's Laras theme in C major. And that took about close to 6 minutes. And well, not many people clapped. So Swami, here's the other thing, right? Sometimes Swami wants to provide encouragement to his students. And when he claps, everyone claps. And in this case, I think I got the claps because Swami was clapping. And then, it's for those of us who know music, you would know that switching from a C major to a G minor is relatively easy. You can really do the switch very fast. So I did not want to waste time there. I switched to G minor, and the first bhajan that occurred in my mind was Sai Hamara. A simple bhajan. It's not complicated at all. And it has so much depth and meaning. And I started playing Sai Hamara, Hum Sai Ke. As I started playing the bhajan, guess what? The response from the audience was so much. People started clapping as I was playing, and they started singing. It seemed like the whole Buddhist auditorium was actually singing, and I didn't know whether I was following them or whether I was leading the bhajan. And actually last night when I was actually going through this and I was thinking, I was trying to get my thoughts together, I remember playing this one line that said, Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, Isai, Sabka Palanhar. Means you are the nourisher, you are the protector of all these religions, of all these people who follow these religions. And how beautiful is it that unknowingly I was actually playing that line there. And the program completed. Swami gave his blessings to us. He gave me Padnamaskar. And next day, I think it was my turn. I was actually sitting in front of the harmonium. That was my turn to follow the Mandir bhajans. I was sitting in front of the harmonium, waiting for the bhajans to start so that I could start the harmonium keys. And Swami, opens the interview room door and then directly comes into the mandir. And then he starts talking about the program yesterday, how nice it was. Then he looks directly at me and then he says, "You played well." Where was I yesterday at the same time? I was totally lost. I had this huge attitude that I was super good and I was so foolish about it. The moment of surrender came and then he took over how I played and look what happened. He listened to every word that I had said there right in front of him, how I actually pleaded with him to remove this ignorance in me. It was me cutting that I and seeking surrendering to his feet. I just wanted to every person has got a unique experience with Swami. And some of these experiences have actually helped me grow. I am human after all, and sometimes I do make mistakes because you make mistakes because you're human. But some of these experiences get infused in yourself. And I felt that as I was growing up, some of these experiences, I had those experiences, or Swami gave me those experiences so that he could lay the foundation and for me to go back and think about it and remember that this is the pathway to way in which he wants us to be model citizens. So, in conclusion, I wanted to go over what I just mentioned throughout this almost 1 hour talk. I'd mentioned about religions. I'd mentioned about how we have to look for the goodness that each religion provides, how we need to get the takeaways from all the festivals that are celebrated, and how we need to drink that nectar of purity and become better. And then how it's important to know that all religions are facets of the same truth, and that truth is God. And also how important it is to be hollow like the flute, with no set vices or desires, and keep ourselves completely free so that his music can flow through us and we become his instruments. And how we can achieve that by cutting the ego and surrendering ourselves completely to him. So I just wanted to lay this out, and I thought this was something that is important for me, especially because whenever I think of Christmas, or whenever I think of Sri Krishna Janmashtami or any other festival, all these thoughts keep coming back to me, and I thought I could share these with you when I got this opportunity. I just want to spend a few more minutes to actually show some. Actually, I have 3 videos and a photograph to share. I'm going to share my screen. The first photograph is about the music program that I just talked about. Let me share my screen just for a second. I think you can all see my screen. Please let me know if you cannot. So this is the first slide I just spoke about, where I played Dr. Zhivago's Lara's theme, and then followed by Sai Hamara. You can see I was accompanied by, on the keyboard, by Sai Manikam on the right side and D. Sairam on the left side. And next slide is actually, there's a small tiny history to the next slide. And both my sons, Mukund and Keshav, they actually performed this carol called Green Sleeves at this nursing home called Sancta Maria Nursing Home. And halfway through the presentation, one of the elderly residents of Sancta Maria Nursing Home started participating, and it kind of brought me back memories of what happened to me several years ago when I played Sai Hamara. So I will play that for you. And the third one is my younger son, Kesha. This was from a few years ago. And the one that is as of yesterday, last night, he recorded this. And I just wanted to play this.
Chestnuts roasting on an open fire. Jack Frost nipping at your nose.
And the last one is, after which I'll conclude, is remember when we spoke about Christmas, I mentioned that how it was in the 80s, that beautiful darshan in the morning. And this came out this morning. Someone sent it to me. It was I feel it is the right timing. And this is something that we'll all enjoy. And I'll play this video, but I just wanted to thank everyone for giving me this opportunity. Merry Christmas to everyone. Sai Ram.
Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright, round yon virgin mother and child, holy infant, so tender and mild, sleep in heavenly peace, sleep in heavenly peace. Silent night, holy night, shepherds quake at the sight, glory streams from heaven afar, heavenly hosts sing hallelujah. Christ the Savior is born. Christ the Savior is born. Silent, silent, holy night, Son of God, lies pure light, radiant beams from thy holy face. With the dawn of redeeming grace, Jesus, Lord of thy birth, Jesus, Lord at thy birth.
Can you please sing one bhajan only, Vidyanand? Only one bhajan will conclude with Harvey. Is it possible? Are you ready?
You're on mute.
We are unable to hear your voice. You're on mute.
I don't have my harmonium with me.
Oh, harmonium. Okay, okay. Without harmonium.
Hey, Vidyanand, hey, please sing. This is Sai here. You can sing without harmonium too. Yeah.
Wow, good. Thank you.
This is the instrument he used to play there also, in Puttaparthi.
Yeah, it's a unique instrument, right? Yeah, small.
Accordion. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sai Ram brother. Sairam, thank you so much. Thank you, Sairam.
Sai Ram, Brother Vidyanand, on behalf of the Sri Sathya Sai Baba Center of Kansas, we'd like to thank you from the bottom of our hearts for sharing such divine glimpses of Swami's divinity. Next, we'll be chanting Mahamrityunjaya Mantram 3 times, followed by Harati and Vibhuti prayer.
ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात् ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात् ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Now we are giving Mangal Harati. Om Jaya Jagadisha Hare Swami Satya Sai Hare Bhakta Jana Samrakshaka Bhakta Jana Samrakshaka Parti Maheshwara Om Jaya Jagadisha Hare Sashivadana Srikara Sarva Pranapate Swami Sarva Pranapate Ashrita Kalpalatika Ashrita Kalpalatika Apadbhandava Om Jaya Jagadisha Hare Mata Pita Guru Daiva Mariyanta Yumire Swami Mariyanta Yumire Nada Brahma Jagannatha Nada Brahma Jagannatha Nagendra Sayana Om Jaya Jagadisha Hare ओंकार रूप ओजस्वी वो साई महादेवा सत्य साई महादेवा मंगल हारति अंदुको मंगल हारतुलंदुको मंदर गिरिधारी ओम जय जगदीश हरे नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण 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 ओम
नारायण नारायण ओम सत्यनारायण नारायण ओम सत्यनारायण नारायण ओम ओम जय जगदीश हरे साई नारायण नारायण ओम सत्यनारायण नारायण नारायण ओम नारायण नारायण ओम सत्यनारायण नारायण ओम सत्यनारायण नारायण ओम जय सद्गुरुदेवा साई नारायण नारायण ओम सत्यनारायण नारायण नारायण ओम नारायण नारायण ओम सत्यनारायण नारायण ओम सत्यनारायण नारायण ओम जय सद्गुरुदेवा ओम शांति 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 समस्त लोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्त लोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्त लोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु ओम शांति शांति शांति
जय बोलो भगवान श्री सत्य साई बाबा जी की जय।
परमं पवित्रं बाबा विभूतिं परमं विचित्रं लीला विभूतिं परमार्थ इष्टार्थ मोक्ष प्रदातं बाबा विभूतिं idamaśrayami. Sacred, holy and supreme is Baba's vibhutim, pouring forth in brilliant streams, display of vibhutim. So auspicious is its might, it grants liberation. Baba's vibhutim, its power protects us. Paramam pavitram Baba vibhutim, paramam vichitram leela vibhutim, paramartha ishtardha moksha pradhanam Baba vibhutim idamaśrayami. Sai Baba vibhutim idamaśrayami. Om Om Om
Sai Ram.